You're listening to the Magnetic Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Calandra Martin, intuitive brand designer for spiritual entrepreneurs. The Magnetic Boss Podcast is where visionaries come together to openly share wisdom and authentic conversations. I know that you are ready to leave your legacy in the world and become sought out in your industry. I also know that you are sick and tired of getting overlooked. You're ready to have a magnetic business. I'm here to help you create your magnetic brand. It's my mission to help you show up confidently with a professional, irresistible online presence. If you're in this for the long game and all in on the big vision you have for your business, let's dive in. Welcome back to the Magnetic Boss Podcast. Today I want to talk about engagement. I want to help you get more engagement and teach you how to make the algorithm work for you. This is something that I see a lot of people struggling with, and I hear a lot of frustrations from women that feel like they're kind of just shouting into an empty room. And I totally get it. Completely, totally get it. At the beginning of my business, when I was sharing on social media, I did not know what I was doing, and I was just putting something out there to put something out there. And the most engagement I got was a comment from my mom, which was nice, but not exactly what I was looking for. So I want to share with you some of the things that I personally do in my business to increase engagement. I do this on my accounts and also for my clients when I'm posting for them. If you're not familiar, I do offer a social media management package. I call it the Content Connoisseur. If you're curious about that, there's more info over on my website. And I see this working time and time again. It's very, very simple. And I think that social media, especially if you are looking for the tips and the tricks from the experts and you're trying to find the perfect strategy, it can feel overwhelming. When in reality, social media is super simple. So simple. So I want you to be thinking about the purpose of social media first and foremost. The purpose of social media is for you to be social. The entire intention behind these platforms is to get people connecting with one another. And unfortunately, what has happened is social media has become a tool that a lot of people use, both small business owners and larger companies use to promote and sell. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but what happens is we as humans become inundated with information. And unless something really lands with us, really moves us, we are far less likely to engage, to have a conversation, to leave a comment, to share something, unless it's really, really important to us. There's a lot of noise in the social media space. We all know this, and we're all consumers of this. So something that's really helpful to be thinking about is what your own consumerism looks like. Because there is a good chance that your consumerism habits are going to be very similar to those of your ideal audience members. So where are you consuming content the most? Are you spending the most time watching Instagram stories? Are you actively watching live videos? Are you engaging in reels and seeing what people have to share for tips in reels? There are so many different avenues of sharing content now on these platforms. So it's important to understand the delivery of that content and how that affects your audience. Because if you are creating content for your audience that they're not actually consuming, your engagement is going to be much lower, right? So that's the first step, is to understand that social media is designed to be social, and that your consumer, your audience, is going to be looking for specific types of content. So really understand what that is. And if you are completely lost here, there's two things that you can do. You can do some market research and ask your audience and find out what type of delivery they prefer. Or you can trial and error the type of content that you're sharing and see what gets the best results. And I often do this for my clients, especially my newer clients, is we test to see what is working best. Looking at your insights is going to tell you a lot about the type of content that you should be creating, the type of content that people are seeing and consuming and engaging with. Okay, so I encourage you to keep this very simple and don't try to overwhelm yourself with showing up on 10 different platforms using all of the features. Stick to 1 or 2 platforms and use the features that are going to be sustainable for you. Because when it comes to content marketing, the frequency does not matter nearly as much as the consistency. I've said this before. I have an entire episode on consistency versus frequency. So if you want to go listen to that and deep dive into that topic, I encourage you to do that. So understand where you are showing up and how you are showing up on that platform. And then from there, it is your job, if you are using social media to grow your business, it is your job to create reciprocal energy in your business. Okay? So instead of treating your business like you are going out to a park and you're standing in the middle of the park with a megaphone and you're shouting out a message hoping that somebody's going to hear, instead of treating your business that way, I want you to think about what builds connection. Connection is built by gaining trust and by approaching people in a way that is authentic. So if you were in the park with a megaphone and shouting into the megaphone wasn't working, so instead you started running up to people and saying, hey, buy my thing, people would probably run away from you. They would probably pull out their pepper spray, right? So I want you to be thinking about social media as if you were in a real life scenario. Because social media, even though we are behind a screen, thousands of miles away from the people that we are talking to, it is meant to be a social interaction similar to how you would socially interact with somebody in real life. So there is etiquette here that is super important to have. And something really important for you to understand is that you need to have reasonable expectations. I see a lot of people getting frustrated with social media because it's not working for them in the first couple of days that they're sharing, or the first couple of weeks, or even the first few years of sharing on social media. If you are using an organic marketing strategy, that is going to take time. I don't care who you are, what you do, or what your social media content looks like. You have to be able to nurture those relationships with your audience over time. And that is where consistency comes in, because it builds that trust factor. And you've probably heard this before, but when we're talking about engagement, you can't overlook this, because otherwise you're going to find yourself very, very frustrated. So give yourself that time to be building momentum. Now, if you are looking for some quick wins and you're hoping to move the needle forward faster in your business, you can be very intentional about the way that you are engaging on social media. Because when we're talking about creating that reciprocal energy, what you put in is what you will get out. Very, very simple. I see people trying to hack the algorithm or to come up with this extensive strategy for social media that's going to get them 10,000 followers in 10 days or whatever it might be. But it's very, very simple. Again, do not overcomplicate social media. The entire purpose of social media is for you to be social. So what does that mean? That means that when you are on social media, instead of just posting something and running away, right? This is not a crock pot. You can't just set it and forget it. Unfortunately, you have to be putting that time and energy and intention behind what you are sharing. So if you're posting on social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or wherever else, the algorithm is going to reward you and prioritize your content when you are engaging. So before you post on any platform, no matter what the delivery style is, it is going to help your post get seen if you are spending a couple of minutes before you post and after you post engaging on other people's content. And this does not have to look spammy. This is really important here. I want you to take notes. This does not have to be spammy. I do not mean go to your first 100 followers and comment an emoji on their video. That is not, it will build your account. Don't get me wrong here. It will. But that is not how to build the engagement from a sustainable place and from an authentic place, because people will know that that's what you're doing. First of all, if somebody's just leaving a couple of heart emojis on your post, they're going to recognize that it's a little bit shallow and a little bit shady, and they're probably not going to engage back with you. And while that might help your algorithm chances, it's not going to help the growth of your business. So be intentional here. But if you are planning on making a post or you're going live, whatever it might be, I want you to go to the people in your followers or the followers of your followers. Growing and expanding your reach is very important here. And looking through their content and finding something that resonates with you, that you can actually respond to from a human level and start a conversation. Maybe you are giving them a compliment on what is in their photo or something that they said, or agreeing with a point that they made. Really tune into this. Don't just try to boost your engagement in 5 minutes before you get on Instagram Live. Give yourself the opportunity to build relationships, because not only will this help your algorithm, but it is going to expand your network, and people will recognize real engagement from fake engagement. I cannot say that enough. Okay, so you're going to want to do that before and after you post for the best chances of your post getting seen, because Instagram will reward you, Instagram and Facebook, they will reward you for utilizing the platform the way that the platform is built. Another strategy that you can use to help your engagement, to boost your reach, is to utilize the features that are given to you from the platform that you are using. So one specific example of this would be in your Instagram stories. If you are posting a story and you're just posting a face-to-camera video of you talking for 15 seconds, that's cool. That's, you're reaching your audience, you're sharing your message, that's great. But if you want to take that a step further and be rewarded by the platform, you can utilize all of the tools that they give you. So maybe on your face-to-camera video, you are adding the closed captions feature, which is going to give your video subtitles. So people can actually read what you're saying versus listen to what you're saying, which, side note, is super important on your face-to-camera videos. If you are recording stories and you're not putting a caption, there's a chance that people aren't consuming your content. I know for me, most of the time I am watching stories with my volume off because I am a mom and I usually have a child who is screaming at the top of his lungs in the background. So just be mindful of that as well. You might also use some of the emojis or the GIFs that they have, GIFs, whatever they're called, in the Instagram stories features. Maybe you are geotagging your location. Maybe you are putting some hashtags in your stories. Anytime that you are using those features in your stories, Instagram is going to recognize that you are engaging with your audience and you're not just throwing content out there. I really love to use the questions box and the polls features because those are also going to help with getting recognized with the algorithm, and they are naturally going to build engagement. So be thinking about how you can start conversations, right? Very, very important to be genuinely engaging with your audience. And then the last tip that I have for you today is to repurpose and redistribute your content so that you are increasing your chances of that content getting seen. So with social media, most pieces of content have a lifespan of less than 24 hours. And the peak of engagement, opportunities of engagement, is going to be just a couple of hours. So for example, if you're posting on the Instagram feed and you have a photo and a caption and some hashtags, that's fantastic. But people are likely only going to see that in their feed for up to 2 to 3 hours, roughly. There is no direct science behind this, but that is the estimate of the lifespan of your post. So what that means is once your post has quote unquote expired, you can revive that post. You can revive that content by sharing it again in a different delivery style. So something that I like to do specifically on Instagram, you can do this on Facebook too, is I will take a post and I will reshare it through the other mediums. So if we posted a photo and a caption with some hashtags, you can then share that the next day to your stories. And I don't mean just hit the share button and post it. I mean hit the share button, add some fun GIFs, add your branding to the background, maybe add a call to action to read the caption, whatever it might be, and utilize some of the other features on Instagram, because that is going to revive that post. It is going to signal to the algorithm that even though that post has gone through its lifespan, it is still worthy of engagement, and they will show it to more people. Because when you bring engagement back to a post, let's say you post something on your feed and then 3 days later somebody else comments on that post because they saw it on your stories or they just discovered it however they discovered it, you're then going to be recognized for that engagement in the algorithm, and your post will get seen more and more. So something that I really love to do with feed posts in particular is take them and share them out throughout a span of an entire week. So maybe I will respond to the first couple of comments the day that the comments come in, and then I'll save the comments that are further down in the thread and go back to those 3 days later and hit reply. Because you're still engaging, but you are continuously building the recognition that that post is worthy of being seen, that people are still engaging with it. So the more that you do that with your content and you redistribute your content, the higher chances are that your post or your content is going to get seen. And seen by more people, a wider variety, because when it comes to especially your feed posts, the people that are going to see that feed post are most likely the same 10, 20, 30 people, or however many people you're getting on a regular level of engagement. Those people are going to see it over and over again. But if you have thousands of followers, there is a good chance that those thousands of people didn't see your feed post the day that you made it, but they might see it in your stories a week later. So really just be mindful of not only the way that the algorithm works, but how your audience is perceiving your content. I find so many times people think that they need to create so much content on social media. They need to spend all day, every day on stories, posting to their feed, doing all of the things. And the truth is that when you work smarter, not harder, your content is going to land so much stronger with your audience. And you'll be able to build that form of repetition, which we recently talked about on the podcast. You'll build that repetition so that people recognize that you're a trusted source for that information. So it really is a win-win situation for you, for your audience, and on the front of increasing your engagement and increasing the algorithm for your content. So that is all I have for you today. I hope that this episode was helpful. If you found this valuable, please share this podcast episode. I would love to share this message with more entrepreneurs that might find themselves struggling with building their brand recognition, specifically on social media. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at calandra.martin. And I will see you next week for another juicy episode. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe wherever you are listening so you never miss a beat. For episode show notes, visit calandramartin.com/podcast. Your iTunes reviews and your sharing of the show helps us reach more magnetic bosses just like you. Until next time.